They say you never see it coming. But the truth is, you do. You just ignore it. Push it aside. Tell yourself people don't change like that. That someone you've shared a life with could never betray you. I believed that. Right up until the moment I woke up in the hospital and read her message. I deserve this after everything I've done for you. There was a screenshot attached our joint account. Balance $100, my emergency savings gone. Retirement cushion drained. Truck maintenance fund vanished. $60 $438.72, all of it. Not stolen by a stranger. Taken by my wife. My name is Caleb Ryan, 45 years old. I've been behind the wheel of a semi-truck for over 2 decades. It's not a glamorous job. No one's lining up to write stories about the man who delivers their furniture groceries or holiday decorations at 2 a.m. on a snow-covered highway. But it paid the bills. It gave us a life. And it kept Leah, my wife of 15 years, in a comfortable home, new furniture vacations I never went on. I didn't resent it. Not until now. The heart attack wasn't sudden. The tightness had been building for weeks. I thought it was stress. Just long hours and gas station coffee. Pushed through it until somewhere outside Lincoln, Nebraska, the pain hit hard. I pulled off near a rest area, called 911 myself. Next thing I knew, I was being airlifted to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I only remember one thing before the blackness took me. The doctor's voice saying, "We're losing him." I flatlined twice. They installed a stent. Kept me under for 2 days. When I came to, there was a nurse standing beside me. "You're lucky," she said gently. "Most men your age don't survive what you just went through." I didn't feel lucky. No one had visited. No flowers. No calls. Just that single message from Leah. The account wiped clean. And those words, "I deserve this." I didn't respond with anger. I didn't scream. I didn't ask why. I just hit the thumbs up emoji. Then I turned my phone off. The doctor came in that evening. "Caleb, we're recommending 6 weeks of rest. No driving, no stress. You need time." He asked if someone was picking me up the next day. I nodded. Yeah, I lied. There was no one coming. That night, I called my brother, Aaron Ryan, foreman on a local construction crew. Divorced twice. Knew a thing or two about betrayal. We hadn't spoken in months, not because of a fight, just life. "You need a place," he asked immediately. "You got it." "I need you not to tell Leah," I added. Pause. "She doesn't know you're alive." "She knows," I said. "She just doesn't know I'm not coming home." I met Leah back in Cheyenne, Wyoming. She had a flat tire at a gas station. I stopped to help. She called me her hero for knowing how to use a jack. Funny how the things people admire early on become the very things they grow to resent. We were married 6 months later. I was 30. She was 27. She said she admired my drive, that she could count on me, and for a while we had something good. But as the years passed, I spent 3 weeks of every month on the road. It wore us down. Conversations turned into check-ins. Texts replaced calls. The home I came back to felt less like a refuge and more like a waiting room. Still, I trusted her. That's what marriage is. Trust. Right. Aaron's guest room became my recovery base. "You should eat something," he said that first night. I stared at the sandwich, appetite gone. I wasn't thinking about food. I was thinking about the house I bought. The one I refinanced 3 months ago in my name only after Leah skipped the paperwork signing because she was busy. I remembered setting up the medical power of attorney last year. After a buddy of mine had a stroke and his girlfriend couldn't make medical decisions, I got spooked. Asked Emily, Aaron's daughter, and a sharp law student to help me put something official in place. Thank God I did. That might have saved more than just my health. On day 3, I got a text from our neighbor. "Haven't seen you around. Everything okay? Leah's got some guy over lately. Thought you should know." No name, no photos. But enough. That afternoon, Aaron drove me downtown to the main bank branch. I asked to speak with their fraud specialist. Showed her the message. Explained my hospitalization. My state of unconsciousness. She listened carefully. "Technically, your wife had joint access to the account," she explained. "But the fact that you were medically incapacitated, it could qualify as financial abuse." "I want to open a case," I said. "We'll need hospital documentation," she said. I nodded. "That's not a problem." She leaned in slightly. "If this becomes a criminal matter, Mr. Ryan Law Enforcement will get involved." "I'm counting on it," I said. On the way back, we stopped for gas. I sat in the passenger seat and watched a dad help his daughter pick out a popsicle from the convenience store freezer. Normal life. Still moving, even while mine was paused. That night, I made 3 calls. First to my dispatcher, told him I was taking extended leave. Second to the credit union where I kept a separate business account for occasional contract hauls. Leah had no access to it. Third to Blake Townsend, a friend of Aaron's and a tough-as-nails attorney. I need to know what I'm dealing with, I said. Legally, financially, everything. Blake agreed to meet the next day. Later that evening, Leah texted, "Where are you? Your truck's not at the yard. Did dispatch tell you I came by?" I didn't reply. "Cameron, this is ridiculous. We need to talk." Still, I said nothing. Aaron poured me a drink. "She's reaching out." I nodded. But I'm not reaching back. That night, I walked around Aaron's neighborhood. Cold air filled my lungs, the sky wide and quiet above me. For the first time in a long time, my chest didn't hurt. I realized something on that walk. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was just finished. And with that came a kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. I didn't sleep much that night. When you realize your entire life has been quietly rerouted behind your back, rest doesn't come easy. The next morning, Aaron dropped me off at Blake Townsend's law office, a small brick building tucked between a coffee shop and a car wash. Nothing flashy, just honest work happening behind quiet walls. Blake met me at the door, firm handshake, sharp eyes. "You ready to get some answers?" he asked. "As ready as I've ever been." We sat at a wide wooden table in a conference room that smelled faintly of printer toner and old leather. I told him everything, from the heart attack to the bank account, from Leah's message to the text from our neighbor, from refinancing the house in my name to the power of attorney Emily helped me draft. He listened without interruption, occasionally nodding, occasionally scribbling a note. Finally, he leaned back. "Okay," he said, "here's what you need to know. First, the house. You're on the title. You're the sole borrower after the refinance. That gives you leverage. And the money I asked. That's more complicated. Joint accounts are considered marital property, but..." He tapped the table with a pen. "If we can prove she exploited your medical state withdrawing the funds while you were unconscious, we may have a case for financial misconduct. Maybe even criminal financial exploitation. And if I want out, you can file for divorce in South Dakota on the grounds of abandonment, infidelity, or financial fraud. Given your documentation, we'd have a strong case." I stared at the grain of the table. "Do it," I said. "Start the process." He nodded. "From now on, all communication goes through me. Don't respond to anything she sends." That night, I got another message from Leah. "You've made your point. Can we just talk? No drama, no lawyers." I turned the phone face down. I wasn't going backward. The following day, Emily, my niece, came over with her laptop. She'd been digging through public databases and bank records. I found something, she said, lowering her voice. "There's a secondary checking account, not one of your joint ones. It's just under Leah's name." She pulled up the screen. "Account balance, $127. $340. Fact. Opened 18 months ago, consistent deposits always under $10,000, just below the federal reporting threshold." "She's been moving money quietly," Emily said. "Almost always while you were on the road." I sat back. "She's been preparing for this for a long time." Emily nodded. "She didn't just react out of anger. She planned this." That night, I drove past my own house. It looked unfamiliar. Her car in the driveway, lights on. Another car parked behind it, a sleek black Audi I didn't recognize. I didn't stop. Didn't slow down. Just kept driving. The next morning, Blake called. "Leah's hired representation," he said. "Patricia Wells." I blinked. I'd heard the name. Big name in family law. Ruthless. "She's claiming emotional abandonment. Says you vanished. That you've been unstable since the heart attack." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. "She's laying the groundwork," Blake said. "Trying to gain sympathy. Trying to paint herself as the victim." What do? We fight fire with facts. We filed an emergency injunction requesting the court freeze any remaining assets and prohibit the sale of any jointly owned property until the matter could be resolved. The judge, an older man named Harmon, scheduled a preliminary hearing for the following week. "We'll need everything," Blake said. "Hospital records, financial transfers, the text messages, photos, if you have them." I've got it. And I did. Because some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve sunlight. In the days leading up to the hearing, Emily uncovered more. The account Leah was hiding. Harold, the friendly neighbor who sent me that first warning text, was listed as an authorized user, not a joint owner, but someone who had access. I remembered Harold helping install a new shed last summer. I paid for the supplies. He brought the tools. Leah brought the lemonade. I should have seen it. But when you love someone, your vision bends. The night before the hearing, I got a text from an unknown number. Any further surveillance of my client will be considered harassment. All communication must go through proper legal channels. It was from Patricia Wells. They were watching me watch them. And now the gloves were off. The courthouse was cold the next morning. Leah arrived in a gray suit, her hair pinned back, flanked by Patricia Wells. She looked polished, put together, like someone going to war. I wore the only suit I owned, navy blue, a little tight in the shoulders, the one I kept in my truck for funerals. Judge Harmon took the bench without preamble. He looked over the paperwork in silence. "Ms. Wells," he said, "is it true your client withdrew the entire contents of the joint account while Mr. Ryan was hospitalized and incapacitated?" Wells stood. "Your Honor, my client had reason to believe the marriage was over. She was securing her portion of the assets." "Did she know he was unconscious at the time of the withdrawal?" A pause. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge adjusted his glasses. "Well then," he said, "I'm ordering a freeze on all disputed funds until this court can review the evidence in full. Neither party may access these assets until the divorce proceedings are complete." It wasn't everything, but it was enough to stop the bleeding. As we left the courtroom, Leah tried to speak to me. "Caleb, wait." Patricia pulled her back. I didn't break stride. Outside, Blake nodded. "She's off balance. We'll keep her there." That evening, I sat in Aaron's backyard watching the sunset bleed across the clouds. I was tired, but not defeated, because I realized something. She didn't just take my money. She gave me something else, a reason to rebuild, on my own terms. After the hearing, Leah went quiet. No more texts, no surprise visits, no calls from blocked numbers. Just silence. But it wasn't peace. It was strategy. Blake had warned me, when someone like Leah goes silent, she's not retreating, she's repositioning. And he was right. 3 days later, Emily forwarded me something she'd pulled from public filings. A quit-claim deed had been prepared. Leah was trying to sell our home, the one solely in my name, to an LLC based out of Denver. Owner of that LLC, Harold Jensen, our neighbor, her affair partner. "She's trying to shift the equity before the court can touch it," Blake said, reviewing the document. "Can she do that?" "No," he said flatly, "but she's betting you won't catch it in time." He made 3 calls. By the end of the day, Judge Harmon issued a temporary property injunction. All transactions involving the home were frozen. Any attempt to transfer or encumber the property would be viewed as contempt of court. Leah had tried to sell my home to the man she'd been cheating with, and failed. But that didn't mean she was finished. That evening, I drove by the house again. This time, a different car was in the driveway. A real estate agent's SUV. She was preparing to list it anyway, probably banking on the court delays. I didn't go in. I just circled once and drove on, my hands steady on the wheel. Back at Aaron's, I found a package waiting on the kitchen table. Emily had printed full statements from the hidden bank account. Every transfer, every pattern. $1, $200 on a weekend in Omaha. $3,900 at a high-end clothing boutique. Hotel rooms in Minneapolis booked under fake names. But it wasn't the purchases that hit me hardest. It was the consistency. Always while I was gone. Always just under this radar. For almost 2 years, Leah had been preparing for my exit, before I even knew I needed to make one. "Do you want to go after Harold?" Blake asked. I looked up from the papers. "You mean legally?" "Yes. If we prove he benefited financially from the hidden account and from any improvements made to the home, we can pursue him for civil damages." I thought about it for a moment, then nodded. "Let's do it." That same week, I filed a claim for disability insurance through my long-haul company. 22 years of payments, and I'd never touched it. The paperwork was simple. My cardiologist sent in the recovery timeline. They approved the claim within 5 days. 60% of my salary. 12 months of eligibility. Direct deposit to the business account Leah didn't know existed. I wasn't just surviving. I was rebuilding. Quietly. Smartly. Permanently. 2 days later, Megan, my niece, showed up with a USB drive. "You need to see this," she said, plugging it into Aaron's TV. It was footage from our home's security system. Leah had forgotten to disable the cloud backup when she changed the password. Footage of Harold entering our house while I was in the hospital. Footage of them drinking wine, laughing, sitting on the porch swing I built with my bare hands. Footage of them walking into the bedroom we once shared. It was quiet. No sound. But I didn't need audio to feel the betrayal settle like concrete in my chest. I stood, walked out into the yard, and just stared at the horizon. Breathe in, breathe out. Let it pass. Let it make you sharper, not bitter. The next day, we scheduled a deposition. Leah was required to appear under oath to answer questions about the account, the property, and Harold's involvement. She arrived with Patricia Wells, professional, poised, like none of this was real. Blake asked the first round of questions. When did you open the secondary account? Who authorized Harold Jensen to use it? Was the money deposited during your husband's hospitalization transferred elsewhere? She gave short, rehearsed answers, but her eyes never met mine. Then came the kicker. Blake produced the video. The one of her and Harold recorded just days after I was discharged. Patricia leaned over, whispering urgently. Leah's face fell. For the first time in weeks, I saw something behind her eyes, fear. Not of me. Of exposure. Of losing control. And that's when I knew she'd already lost. 2 days later, her attorney emailed Ed Blake. We're open to settlement discussions. Translation, they knew the court wouldn't side with them. They were trying to cut their losses. Do you want to settle? Blake asked me. I shook my head. She took my money. She tried to take my home. She lied under oath. She manipulated the system. I leaned forward. No, I want the court to see it all. He nodded, and we proceeded. The full divorce hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. I used that time to prepare. I revisited the house, this time with a court order and a sheriff's deputy. Every document left behind was photographed. Every item of value cataloged. Every improvement, including Harold's shed and the luxury appliances, documented as additions funded through marital assets. She hadn't just cheated. She'd invested in her affair using my earnings, and I had the receipts to prove it. The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was quiet. Leah sat across from me, eyes hollow. No Harold this time. He'd been subpoenaed separately. Never showed up. Blake presented everything, and he rented everything. The timeline of withdrawals. The hidden account. The footage. The financial statements. The property sale attempt. The false narrative of abandonment. Patricia Wells tried to pivot emotional duress, confusion, misunderstanding, but the judge wasn't buying it. Not after everything. Finally, Judge Harmon looked at Leah. Mrs. Ryan, is there anything you'd like to say? She looked at me. For the first time, her voice cracked. I thought he was going to leave me. I didn't blink. He was always gone. I just wanted to be prepared. Silence. The judge nodded slowly. Well, you were prepared, he said. And now so is the court. His ruling came swiftly. The house awarded solely to me. The remaining savings, 80% to me, 20% to Leah. The hidden account frozen pending additional investigation. Legal fees paid entirely by her share. Harold Jensen referred to civil court for damages. It wasn't revenge. It was balance. As we left the courthouse, Leah tried to speak again. I didn't mean... I raised a hand. You made your choices, I said calmly. And now I've made mine. That night I returned to the house. Empty. Still. My house. I stood in the living room for a long time, staring at the blank walls, listening to the quiet. Not the kind of quiet that hurts. The kind that heals. The morning after the ruling, I woke up in my own house. It was still. Too still. No footsteps on the hardwood. No coffee brewing. No familiar perfume lingering in the bathroom. Just silence. But this time, it wasn't the silence of absence. It wasn't what Leah left behind. It was the space I'd finally cleared. For myself. I took the day slowly. Walked from room to room like a man rediscovering something once lost. The wedding photo was gone from the hallway wall, no surprise. The bed was stripped. My favorite mug had disappeared from the cabinet. But she hadn't taken the oak bookshelf I built by hand, or the stack of old road maps I collected from every state I ever hauled freight through. She couldn't take those, because she didn't value them. And that's the truth about people who betray you. They never steal what matters to you. They only take what they think has worth. And in that misjudgment, they lose everything. Blake called later that morning. Her attorney wants to close out the settlement paperwork as soon as possible. You good to sign? I'm good. You want the satisfaction of hand-delivering it to the courthouse. No, I said, stepping out onto my porch. I already got my closure. I took a walk that afternoon through the neighborhood. Some folks waved. A few avoided eye contact, maybe they'd heard pieces of the story. But I didn't feel shame. I didn't feel like a man who'd been left or used. I felt like a man who had survived something meant to destroy him and came back stronger. At the end of the street, I passed Harold's old house. The for sale sign was gone. A young couple was moving in carrying boxes marked nursery and winter coats. They smiled as I passed. I nodded in return. Harold was long gone. Vanished the day after court, just like we expected. His accounts were frozen pending the civil case, but the money would never come back. He knew how to disappear. That was his game. But what he didn't know was that the real loss wasn't financial. It was narrative. He wouldn't get to tell his version. Because I'd already told mine to the court, to the bank, to anyone who would listen. And now, to myself. That night, I sat on the porch with a glass of bourbon and an old country record playing low from the living room. The air smelled like pine and the last edge of summer. Aaron called. "You doing all right?" "I am," I said. "You sure?" "I'm more than sure. I'm settled." He paused. "Never thought I'd hear you say that." "Me neither." And we both laughed, the first real one in a long time. The next day, Megan showed up with a small gift bag. Inside was a framed print. Simple black text on cream parchment. "You didn't lose anything. You reclaimed yourself." I smiled. "You make this?" She nodded. "I figured you needed to see it in writing." "Thank you." "For what?" "For not treating me like a victim. You never acted like one." Over the next 2 weeks, I cleaned out the house, box by box, room by room. Leah had left more behind than I expected, half-used candles, old sweaters, shoes she never wore. Maybe she thought I'd toss it all. But I didn't. I packed everything neatly. Took it to a local charity drop-off. No anger. No destruction. Because healing isn't loud. It doesn't look like revenge. It looks like dignity. One afternoon, I sat down and wrote a letter. To myself. A strange exercise, maybe. But it helped. "Caleb, you didn't see it coming. That doesn't mean you were foolish. It means you trusted. You weren't weak when you collapsed on that highway. You were human. You didn't deserve betrayal, but you handled it better than most ever could. This isn't a story of what was taken from you. It's the story of what you decided to build in its place. Stay steady, stay honest, stay you." I folded the letter, placed it in the drawer where I kept my passport, title papers, and family photos. Then I closed it. A new chapter sealed. Later that week, Blake called again. "There's been a development." "What now?" "Leah's attorney just dropped the civil countersuit." "Why?" "She knows they'll lose. The video, the financial trail, it's airtight. But there's more. She's filed a request to move out of state." "To where?" "Minneapolis." "Of course. The city where she and Harold once shared hotel rooms." "She won't fight you anymore, Caleb." "Good," I said, and meant it. That Friday, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Just a single sheet of paper. I thought I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know what I was destroying. "You didn't deserve what I did to you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know. I never stopped loving you. I just stopped seeing you." No signature, just a folded apology. Too little, too late. I placed it in the same drawer as my own letter. Not to remember, but to let go. The next morning, I received a call from a logistics company in Billings. They'd heard about my recovery, the court case, and everything that followed. "We're looking for someone to run safety and training," the caller said. "You'd be perfect. No halls. None. Just guidance, mentorship. You'd be home every night." I paused, then smiled. "Let's talk." Later that day, Aaron came by. He brought steaks. We grilled like we used to when we were kids. Beer bottles sweating in the heat. Music low in the background. "You think you'll ever date again?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "Someday." He nodded, "But not yet." "No, right now I'm still getting to know the man I became." He clinked his bottle against mine. "To that man." And we drank. That night I watched the stars from the backyard. No noise, no grief, just gratitude. Because after everything, the hospital, the betrayal, the courtroom, the rebuilding, I wasn't holding on to bitterness. I wasn't chasing justice. I wasn't waiting for karma. I was simply free. 6 months after Leah left and the dust settled, I found myself standing in the middle of a cabin I didn't even know I wanted, until I had it. A modest place on the edge of Flathead County, Montana. Just under 20 acres. Pines thick as soldiers on one side, an old creek humming on the other. I bought it with the remainder of the settlement combined with the sale of the house in Sioux Falls. Clean deal. No lingering baggage. The kind of place where you could go days without hearing another human voice unless you wanted to. That mattered now. Silence had become more than comfort. It was proof that no one owned my peace anymore but me. I still kept in touch with Blake. Mostly short emails. Occasionally, I'd forward a letter that came in with Leah's name on it. Not legal letters. Personal ones. Rambling, apologetic, sometimes nostalgic, sometimes desperate. I never replied. Not because I hated her, but because I had nothing left to say. That version of me, the one who needed to explain himself, defend his silence, ask why he was gone. And good riddance. Emily passed the bar in June. Top 5% of her class. She sent me a selfie from the courthouse steps, diploma in one hand, coffee in the other. I wouldn't be here without you, Uncle C. You taught me what it means to fight without screaming. Thank you for showing me how to stand tall, even when people try to cut you off at the knees. I sent back a simple message. Don't just become a lawyer. Become the kind of person the guilty fear and the honest respect. She replied with a heart emoji. It was the closest I'd felt to proud in years. A few weeks later, I got a call from the dispatch company that used to run my hauls. They offered me a consulting position. No travel, work from home. Just reviewing contracts and training younger drivers. Pays well, the manager said. And let's be honest, we'd rather someone who's been through hell be teaching these rookies, not some guy fresh out of business school. I laughed. I'll think about it. And I did. But not for long. Because part of healing is staying useful. Not to others. To yourself. One afternoon, I sat on the porch swing I'd hung from 2 lodgepole beams watching a deer tiptoe through the pines. No drama. No deadline. No one asking me to explain what I was doing, where I was going, or what time I'd be home. Just me. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory. Not the settlement. Not the house. Not even the fact that Leah's name would forever be followed by court orders and frozen accounts. No, the real triumph was this. I didn't become the worst version of myself just because she did. The world didn't owe me a prize for surviving. But I'd earned this calm. Every painful conversation. Every legal document signed with a steady hand. Every night I sat in silence instead of responding with rage. They brought me here. And I'd never trade it back, not for all the money she tried to take. It was early September when I got the final letter. No envelope. Just a folded sheet slid through the post with no return address. But I recognized the handwriting immediately. Leah. The ink was smudged in a few places. Either she was careless or crying. Maybe both. It read, I sold my car last week. Trying to keep up with the rent has become harder than I thought. Harold vanished a long time ago, just like you said he would. I think I always knew. I told myself I took the money because I deserved it. But the truth is, I took it because I knew I couldn't earn that kind of trust on my own. You were a good man, Caleb. You still are. I hope you find someone who doesn't need to break you to know your worth. I'm sorry, Leah. I read it twice. Then I folded it neatly, placed it in the drawer with the others. Not out of nostalgia. Out of closure. She wasn't trying to reclaim anything now. She was trying to release herself. And in a way, I respected that. But I didn't pity her. Because consequences don't care about apologies. They just show up, eventually. That night, I wrote my own final note. Not to her. To me. You did it. You didn't burn the house down. You rebuilt a better one. You didn't scream in the courtroom. You spoke your truth and let the evidence walk. You didn't chase revenge. You let the truth catch up on its own. You survived betrayal. Not with rage, but with reason. And now, you get to live the rest of your life on your own terms. Good job, old man. You earned this. I sealed the note, wrote the date on the envelope, and tucked it under the floorboard in my cabin. Let someone find it someday. Let them know that healing doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with quiet mornings and coffee on a handmade porch swing. 6 months later, I accepted the consulting job. 3 days a week. Flexible hours. Honest work. Every new driver I mentored, I told them the same thing. It's not the hauls that wear you down. It's forgetting why you started in the first place. Never forget. And I didn't. Not anymore. The last time I spoke about Leah publicly was at a men's group meeting in Missoula. Small crowd, all kinds of stories. I didn't use her name. Didn't air the details. I just said, sometimes people don't leave you. They just reveal who they were all along. And sometimes what looks like the worst day of your life ends up saving it. They nodded, quietly, like they understood. I haven't heard from Leah since that final letter. No need to. She's part of the story, but she's not the whole story. The whole story is this. I trusted someone. They betrayed me. I chose to heal. And now I'm free.